Hey guys, me Shaw360, and this is not a video I plan to make, but with YG announcing the disbandment of 2NE1 and then Taehyun leaving Winter, you knew I was going to say something, and this is me saying something. I'm going to start with Winter because that one's going to be fairly easy for me to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about 2NE1 because that one's a little bit more involved. First, I'm going to talk about Winter. I did not like the statement that YG put out about why it is that Taehyun needed to leave Winter, because in a lot of ways to me it felt like victim blaming. If YG was aware that Taehyun had been battling mental health issues since he was a trainee, because I'm sure this must have come up at some point, for you to decide now, after the group has become big and they've gotten a massive following, that, okay, well, he's just too damaged for us to continue on, then you should have never put him in the pool of people to possibly become a celebrity. Like, I'm just saying, like, if I knew I had somebody who was vulnerable, who was fragile, that at any moment they could break, why would I set them up to be a part of a group that's going to be on the international stage? To be a part of a group that I'm going to put so much pressure on to make music, that I'm going to demand them to tour, that I'm going to demand them to do variety, that I'm going to demand them to do so much else. Like, that just seems like you're building a house of cards and eventually it's going to fall down. And so for YG to say, oh, well, his mental illness has held up the group and, you know, he needs to leave in order for him to be able to recover, and we're not going to replace him, so don't be mad at us, you know, they'll still just be the four. I feel like it's a cop-out on YG's part. I feel like something else must have happened that is not that, but we're just never going to find out about it. But to say that somebody has a compromised mental state and that rather than trying to work with them towards wellness and then bring them back into the group, you're just going to throw them away, I find that offensive. And so, you know, fuck YG for that, definitely, for sure. But I do wish Taehyun the best of life wishes. Like, I hope that he's able to produce music in the future. I hope he's able to find success in the future. But more than anything, I hope he's able to find health in the future. Because I have personal experience with family members that struggle with mental illness. And I can tell you now, depending on what kind of mental illness it is, it's something that they'll deal with for the rest of their life. And it's one of those kind of illnesses that's so hard to deal with because it's not visual. And anybody who has a non-visual illness can tell you it is the most painful thing to go through in life, to have something affecting you that nobody can see. If I had no hand, you could see that I have a stump, and maybe you'll treat me different because you can see that there's something there that's missing. But if I have depression, or if I have paranoia, or if I have anxiety, you can't see it on my face. You can't see it in the things that I do. And so you may feel like I'm lying, that I'm making it up, that I'm being extreme about something, or that it's not real. And it is real. Mental illness is real, and it's not something that can be fixed easily, and it's not something that can be cured completely for a lot of people. So I really do wish him health more than anything else. And, you know, definitely I think not being under the thumb of YG will lead to healthier lifestyles, because YG seems like he puts a lot of pressure on the artists underneath him. So, you know, definitely it's a come up for you not to have to be with him. But I also hope that the rest of Winter is able to, you know, get out there and do something, because I think that honestly this is just a cop-out for YG. I don't think that he really liked Winter anyway. I think he liked Minho for sure, but I don't think he really liked the rest of Winter all that much. And I think this whole Taehyun thing is an excuse for him to not have to promote Winter anymore. And for that, fuck you again, YG, because you're an asshole. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see if they manage to escape the dungeon after all. Now let's move on to 2NE1, and let me tell you why I think that the disbandment of 2NE1 is the fault of the Korean government. Okay, now I know you're going to say to yourself, you sound like a conspiracy theory crackpot, and these are all opinions. This whole video is all my opinion. But let me give you a brief kind of current events lesson, and then let's talk about YG and how they fit into these current events. So right now, the leader of South Korea, Park Geun-hye, she is involved in a massive scandal that started about a month and a half ago. It came out that she is a member of a religion that the head of that religion is a lady named Choi Sun-sil. and that this lady, Choi Sun-sil, her and Park Geun-hye grew up as like childhood best friends, and that this woman, Choi Sun-sil, has basically been running the life of Park Geun-hye. Now, Park Geun-hye, the president of South Korea, her father was president of South Korea from 1963 to 1979, so for a good 16 years. Her mother was assassinated by accident. They were trying to assassinate her father, but they killed her mother instead. And she was actually the first lady of South Korea for a number of years before she became president. And her and Choi Sun-sil grew up as friends. And as they got older, Park Geun-hye has never married, never had kids. She's been made fun of internationally for always looking kind of dowdy, and she's been criticized for some of her policy in terms of how she relates to other companies and even how she treats the people in the country of South Korea. Her response during the Sewol ferry tragedy has been highly criticized. And there has been some accusations saying that that is because of advice that she got from Choi Sun-sil. Not only that, but people are saying that this character, Choi Sun-sil, has been using her close connections with Park Geun-hye in order to help her daughter get into college when she didn't deserve it, has used it to reach out to corporations like Samsung and LG to get monies from them that she didn't deserve, that she used on personal expenditures, but also that this Choi Sun-sil has connections with YG through her daughter. Also, it's been in the news in South Korea that YG, I think it's his brother, has like a high government position in South Korea, and that YG has been the beneficiary of a lot of government favors that other record labels haven't been the beneficiaries of. There's been a land deal that YG is said to be in line to earn millions of dollars for that worked out in a very tricky way in order for him to be able to benefit from that. Also that, Big Bang constantly being like international culture ambassadors, that's been through YG. Excuse me. But this is where the connection to YG and to anyone in the South Korean government come in. Supposedly, when Park Bom first got found out for having the drugs brought in from America, and it was psychiatric drugs, that when the police found out that YG was able to use his influence to keep the drugs discovery and her subsequent kind of like being fined and everything from making it to the news because of his government connections. Then it was said that as a favor to the government, in exchange for what they did for him with, land mergers and all this other stuff the government has been giving him kind of easements for, he was asked to create a news story in order to take some attention off of the government while they were working on something else. And that he decided that he would bring up the whole Park Bom thing as kind of an anonymous tip to the news, and that was what he was doing in order to deflect some of the attention off of the government at that time in exchange for the influence that he's been able to have with the government. And the reason why I feel like this might be true is because usually whenever there's been a scandal involving any artist with YG normally doesn't put out any kind of a statement. Like, he normally says, we don't comment about the lives of our employees, we will deal with it through our lawyer, da-da-da. But when Park Bom's scandal came out, it was odd in two ways. Number one, it had already been addressed with the government, the police, everything else. It was old news that had been kind of brought into the light, number one. Number two, YG put out a very lengthy interview talking about Park Bom's history, about how she watched her friend be killed and how she's been with doctors and how he knows that she's a good person and that she's not a drug addict and all this other stuff that YG has never really done before. He did that at the time that Park Bom scandal first emerged. And this is what I think happened. I think that YG has always kind of resented the success that 2NE1 has, because I don't think YG feels like women should be entitled to that kind of success, especially not, traditionally attractive women. He feels like ugly women should be exactly that, ugly women. I think he's been resentful for how fervent the fans have been in their support of 2NE1. I think he's been resentful that, his plans for 2NE1 in terms of them being a springboard for CL's success didn't really quite happen. I think he's been disappointed that Bomb has been so beloved by the fans when really he didn't want her to be anything other than like a hook singer for other artists on YG. And I think he decided that, I'm pretty much done with these broads anyway. This is a great excuse for me not to have to promote this group anymore. And I can move on with a replacement group, if you will. And I think that that's the reason why there is a link between the South Korean government and the disbandment of 2NE1. Because I think at the end of the day, YG has wanted to disband 2NE1 for a long time. But I think that he was able to use this bomb scandal as a catalyst to jump off the reason why they can never get back together. Because in a lot of ways, 2NE1 could never get back together. The public has never forgiven Bomb for the drug thing. She has been in a period of reflection for literal years now. It's never going to ease up. He was never going to do anything for Minzy. And all the people who blame Minzy for the reason why 2NE1 disbanded, get your head out your ass. He was never doing anything with her before the group even disbanded. CL had solo songs. Dara had acting promotions. Bomb had solo songs. What did Minzy have? She had some commercials. That was it. So why wouldn't she leave? And chances are she got the heads up that this was going to happen. And she said, you know what? Rather than not offering me a renewal, I'm just going to go on about my business now. And I find it very interesting that when Minzy left the group, YG said that she was the only one that decided not to return to 2NE1 and they were going to have a summer comeback. But then when the news comes out now, it's that CL and Dar were offered renewals. Bomb did not receive a renewal. So then what happened last year or earlier this year? What happened a few months ago then? Were there two different contracts, one to sign with 2NE1 and one to sign to YG? Like, I feel like there's a lot of lies and duplicity and smoke screening here that YG really hasn't accounted for. And it's one more reason why I always say when it comes to YG, it's not about the artist, it's about the brand. YG is such an egomaniac, and he, unlike JYP, doesn't have a lot of personal accomplishment to use to kind of soothe his ego. Like, JYP can honestly say that before he was the head of JYP, the label, he was JYP, the extremely successful solo artist. YG was the extremely successful background dancer for Sotaji. Honestly. His label is his kingdom. And he thrives off of it. He's one of the few record label heads that when the artists have a comeback, he's the one announcing that they have a comeback rather than the PR team. And I think this is another example of YG putting his ego and his greed above his artist, because he could have protected Bomb. He could have told the government, I'll come up with something about me, or I'll come up with something about somebody else. But no. 2NE1 had gone outside of his plans of what he wanted them to be. He needed to protect his government alliances, and so he kind of threw 2NE1 under the bus and sacrificed the team in order to protect himself. And that's why it is fuck YG season around these parts all damn day, every single day. And I'm not surprised by the news. I don't think anyone was necessarily surprised by the news, but it is heartbreaking because 2NE1 are legendaries. Hearing about 2NE1 disbanding is almost like somebody saying, Girls' Generation has decided to disband and everyone else was offered a contract except for Tiffany. Like, that's what it's like. And I just can't help but think that this is not the way they could have gone out. Like, honestly, if YG didn't want 2NE1 to continue to go on, rather than letting them die with a whimper, he could have promoted Crush as like the last hurrah. And I think it's something that fans would have embraced. I think it's something that the artists would have embraced. I think it's something that they deserved. Because had he done that, this whole Bomb scandal probably, number one, would have never come out unless YG decided to do it just to be spiteful. But number two, I think it would have left a lot of fans with more respect for the label and a lot more faith in the label than what they have. There's a lot of diehard YG fans right now that are really questioning their loyalty. They know that they have to support the artist monetarily in order for YG to continue to promote the artist. But they feel uncomfortable supporting YG monetarily because if they support the artist, they know YG gets that money. And they're really stuck in a conundrum. But yeah, I think that YG doesn't realize that with this announcement, he's really undermined the faith that fans have in him. And I think he really has killed the whole notion of the YG family. I think in the past, people confused YG family with being like, oh, we all hang out together, we eat dinner together, spend the holidays together. Now YG family means exactly what it means with Kellogg and Procter & Gamble and McDonald's. It means our family of products. It doesn't mean literal family. And I think that he's going to reap the benefits of what he's sowing today. I think that people are going to be distrustful of him in the future. I think that people are going to be less quick to embrace his new artists because they don't know when they're going to disappear. I think people will quit seeing YG as the premium product that he lets himself to be. And I had said in a video previously that I was waiting for YG to flop. I think now more than ever, he's setting himself up for that. Because the things he said were true are now being directly contradicted by his own mouth. The image that he put out there of what kind of label he has and what they're about is now being directly contradicted by his own mouth. And I really do think that if there was ever a time for people to kind of start calling him on his bullshit all the time, now's the time to do it. There is a reason why he pulled out of the Mamas. Why YG wasn't going to do anything with the Mamas, because he knew this news was going to come out. And I can't help but think that this news is coming out for the same reason that the bomb news is coming out, because Korea has been in protest for weeks. And so YG probably was called by one of his government friends and said, hey, we need another news story to kind of divert people's attention while we try to tie up some loose ends here. So he's like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and say 2NE1 disbanded, because I was going to do it anyway, but let's just do that now. I'll tell people we're not going to the Mamas, kind of lead up to this, and I'll just throw that one crazy guy out of winter. That'll be fine. Crazy is a problematic word. I would never use it, but I'm just saying that's probably what YG said. So I think that's what this is. I think that's what this is. I think it's another example of YG protecting his neck, looking out for self, and, you know, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. But these are all my opinions. These are not facts. And at the end of the day, I have much love for Taehyun. You weren't my fave, but I still think you're a talented young man, and I wish you the best. I have infinite amounts of love for 2NE1. You guys were my faves, and I definitely wish you all the best. And I'm going to continue to support you guys. You know, I didn't see CL in concert because the tickets were extremely overpriced for me. But if she ever does come out with a physical release, I will probably buy it. Definitely, if Minzy ever comes out with a physical release, I will buy it. If Bomb comes out with anything, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to buy it. She could come out with a line of lip glosses. I'm going to buy it because I want to support her. And Dara, you got money. That girl stays working a job, so you're going to be all right, girl. But yeah, those are my thoughts and opinions. Let me know how you feel down below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.